Welcome to episode 116 of the BCF ORG podcast, The Business of Business. I'm Brian Fisher. In the previous episode, 115, our guest was John Martinka, discussing exit with style. Today's episode discusses lasting client relationships with Jacob Hicks. This podcast series is targeted to business owners and C-suite executives. It reflects my 34 years as a business owner and subsequent years as a business mentor and consultant. It focuses on the various subjects and topics to help you run a successful, profitable business. They're approximately 15 minutes long, so you can listen while commuting. Hopefully, you'll find one or two takeaways to implement per episode. Based out of West Des Moines, Iowa, Jacob Hicks is a success coach and keynote speaker with over a decade of experience transforming lives and businesses. Jacob has a knack for identifying what drives lasting success and delivering implementable strategies. Jacob guides clients through mindset shifts, sustainable systems, and achieving work-life balance for long-term success. He's client-centered with a focus on each individual's goals and building personalized strategies. He works with sales teams, seasoned pros, and entrepreneurs, helping to establish growth-oriented structures. He covers topics like exploring personal goals, overcoming fear, and systemizing growth. Success is measured by client-specific metrics. Known for his strong follow-up systems and mindset-driven coaching, Jacob empowers clients across industries to overcome challenges and move forward with confidence. Let's welcome Jacob Hicks. Jacob, welcome to the BCF ORG podcast, The Business of Business.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian. Glad to be here.
Thanks for joining us, Jacob. Jacob, I'm always interested in people's stories. What's your background in becoming a success coach and keynote speaker?
Most of my background is in sales. It's been about 10, 12 years in various sales roles. But I really realized that over the course of that time, while I love, selling and meeting people, what I really love and enjoy doing is helping people, particularly help people navigate a, murky or difficult situation in their life. And that's really kind of what brought me to coaching and speaking, to help people drive towards their goals and their ultimate success in life.
This episode's topic is lasting client relationships. Why are lasting client relationships so important to salespeople and to businesses?
The really important thing when it comes to lasting client relationships is that's already established business. And that's something that I feel like is all too often overlooked when we're looking for new business all the time. So going in deep on client relationships will ultimately lead to winning in the long term, particularly when it comes to, like we talked about, the 80-20 rule, where most of your business comes from that 20%. So as long as you are cultivating that relationship over the long term, you will continue to win and continue to gain more and more business from those particular folks.
Jacob, following up on that, what are some common mistakes that salespeople make?
Really what it kind of comes down to, at least in my mind, is overall follow-up. And I think this is true when you're trying to win new business, but especially when you are trying to go really deep with your current book of business. And follow up, when I talk about that, it doesn't necessarily mean like, hey, you're just dropping by on a client that you've known for 15 years and, just shooting the breeze for a little bit. I mean, it can be some of that, but it can also be sending them emails or dropping off some information like, hey, these are some of the changes that are coming down the pipe. I want to make sure that you're aware of it so you're prepared for when we have a conversation later on. So that's really, I think, the follow-up piece, and doing it consistently is really where we can lose sight of things.
We're speaking with Jacob Hicks, success coach and keynote speaker. Jacob, what are the secrets to a follow-up system that drives results without being pushy?
Really what it comes down to is two things. The first is going to be consistency, making sure that you have some sort of system in place to make sure that you are following up with people on a consistent basis, whether it be every other week, every month, however often it kind of makes sense for you and in your field. And the second piece is going to be value driven, making sure that you aren't just following up with somebody that you met at some networking event to say, hey, are you ready to buy from me again? That's that pushy salesman that we want to try to avoid as much as possible. What you want to do is say, hey, based on what we talked about at this networking event, I thought this information based on, what you said would be really helpful to you. So I want to make sure to send that over. So making sure you are driving the follow-up through value.
Why is sales a skill that everyone should master?
Oh man, I feel like we could do 4 or 5 episodes on this. That one, I think it's a skill that everybody should master because the truth is, in my opinion, that everyone is selling all the time, and it really doesn't matter whether or not your pay is based on commission or bonus or whatever. What I mean by that is, even if you are in a standard W-2 job, you still have to sell your boss on your ideas. You still have to sell your direct reports on what you are saying makes sense to them. You still have to sell a lot of the time. And the truth is, even if that on the off chance isn't true, you still have to sell yourself in interviews. Because unless you're going to do this, the one job you got right out of college for the next 40, 50 years, very unlikely, right? So you need to be able to sell yourself in interviews that you are the right fit for that particular role.
And Jacob, what results or lessons learned have you seen with businesses or individuals that have implemented your recommendations?
I mean, the follow-up piece I think is really, really huge because that's where we get so focused on finding the new business that we forget about following up with folks. And we ultimately need to make sure that we are coming from the mindset that we are serving other people. And the best way to serve people, particularly in a sales role, is coming from that value. That value piece is really, really critical. And if you understand your business and your clients and the product or service that you're selling, then you will have pretty much an unlimited amount of content, I think, for driving that value.
It really is all about the customer and their needs.
Absolutely.
We're speaking with Jacob Hicks, success coach and keynote speaker. Jacob, is there anything I've not asked that you'd like to add?
One thing that I always like to talk about with folks is your systems. I think systems are my favorite quote from James Clear is we don't rise to our goals, we fall to our systems. And the truth is when it comes to follow up or any other sales skill, we all have systems in place. This really matters down to what or how intentional we are with them. So if you meet somebody and you follow with them once and never again, that's your follow-up system. So finding that intentionality around what you're doing is really, really key.
And Jacob, how can people get in contact with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is through my website, jacobhickscoach.com. And I just recently launched my own podcast called Purpose Driven Progress, and I've got a lot of good tips on there for you as well.
Jacob, thank you for joining us today on the BCF ORG podcast, The Business of Business.
Thank you so much for having me.
My sincere thanks to Jacob Hicks for joining us today. Managing the performance of your company is one of the most important things you do as a leader. This podcast is on YouTube and over 20 directories. In search, type BCF ORG. Be sure to leave a space between BCF and ORG. And don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow the podcast. If you'd like to reach out to me for business mentoring or consulting, schedule a speaking engagement, ask questions, make comments, suggest ideas, or potentially be a guest, like Jacob, please go to bcforg.com. There's a red Contact Us button in the middle of the homepage. All the podcasts are available by clicking on the website podcast page in the reference bar. These podcasts will be released the first and third Tuesday each month. In the next episode, 117, our guest will be Matt Tate, discussing effective financial operations. In business, running a successful, profitable business is the ultimate scorecard. You are never done and can always be better. It tends to be more fun than work, frustrating at times, but can be very rewarding. And don't underestimate the value of a business plan and financial planning. From BCF-ORG Corp., I'm Brian Fisher, wishing you the best. Thanks.